Welcome to part 4 of my video series taking a look at image 10 verse 8 of The Secret. In my last video I showed how the clue to the first young birch was actually a poem by Robert Frost, and it led us back to the starting point on 2nd and Wells. So now from there we're going to take the verse and we're going to show you where I think the cask is hidden. Past 3 staying west. So if we go back to 2nd and Wells, okay, you'll see that the river actually runs north and south. And if we're here on Wells, we're on the west side of the river. So we need to stay on the west side of the river. And there are 3 things that we would pass, overpasses, that pass over the river. And so if we pass 1, 2, 3, that takes us to Old World 3rd Street. Now, this street is one of the oldest in Milwaukee. It has a tie to the German immigrants, and specifically, there is one building on this street that is taller than the rest, and that's this building right here. And this building is known as the A. Schoenlieber building. There we go. His name is right up there on the top with the year that the building was made, 1882, A. Schoenlieber, a German immigrant. Let's look at the poem. You'll see a letter from the country of Wonderstone's hearth. And we know that the Wonderstone is the German star. And a letter would be the letter A. And so now we have to figure out, is this the solve for this clue on a proud, tall 5th? Well, it's definitely tall. It's the tallest building on the street. One thing I want to point out is that this is actually the 6th building on the street. So that's not the answer to it. But I think I did figure out the answer. This building now is currently owned by Buck Bradley's Saloon and Eatery. And if you go to Buck Bradley's webpage, they have a history of the building. And so it was built in 1854 by a German immigrant, Adolf Schoenlieber. They had a son named Otto, 1858. And over the years, they did business there, and then it eventually started to change hands, and a lot of different businesses were there. And in 1992, it was purchased by this family that runs Buck Bradley's, and they decided to name it Buck Bradley after the great-great-grandson of Otto, who was named Balthasar Schoenlieber Bradley. So Otto was the first American born to this family. And this building just so happens to be now named after his great-great-grandson. Well, Otto's grandson would have been 3rd generation American. His great-grandson would have been 4th generation American. And his great-great-grandson would have been 5th generation American. A proud, tall 5th. I was pretty blown away when I figured that out. And so when you look at the rest of the clues, at its southern foot, the treasure awaits. This building has 2 planters in front of it, one on the north and one on the south. At its southern foot, the treasure awaits. this planter is where I believe the treasure was hidden. Now, I had to do some research. I went back in time and I looked at some buildings, or some pictures of this building, and this one was from 1960. And you can see here are the two planters. There's actually 2 trees planted there. Jump ahead to 1984, and there are those same 2 trees. A little bit bigger, but definitely thin. So this would have been in place in 1981 when he hid this thing. So the roots could have been a potential hazard to the plexiglass, but we know that that tree is no longer there. In just a second, on our next video, I'm going to wrap this thing up, and I'm going to tell you how I contacted this business, and I'm going to let you know the information that I was able to gain from talking to the owners on this. It's going to blow your mind. Stay tuned.